producer, but you're looking for the cameraman. Can I give you the cameraman's number? Do you know Chris Matlock? That's okay. We work together, but I'm in the briefing, but Chris is with him. If you call Chris, he's with the Dujarric. Okay, thanks. Okay, perfect. Thanks, bye. No.
Yeah, they said so.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
why don't they say it was so
15 minutes late.
Then he's going to come 15 minutes out.
It's worse. It makes it worse. It totally makes it worse.
That's not their time.
It
Yeah,
does not
you're
fix
right, you're
anything.
right. Oh, God.
It literally made it worse.
It's like
We should know it. by
Yeah, I
now.
know, but we are hopeful.
Why are we stupid?
Yeah,
It's
no,
on
but we
on
put
time.
deadlines.
Just like
That's
some
the problem.
But it does
we had
not.
So when somebody
Yes,
asks
it's
Father,
always
Father
not.
is like, I grew up in this East Asian household. You have no choice.
God.
It's like a personal thing. It's definitely not about the news. Kidding you.
Someone was playing cooked.
I don't know. So. Hi. Great.
See?
I know, that's why.
he had enough time to go live on
He
air and
knows.
come back.
He knows.
Steph's
We're
waiting
open
for
things, that's
Gabriel.
Yeah.
No, he's
He
not.
wanted you to be
Yeah,
live.
they were waiting for you.
Yeah, that's
I don't know about that, but
Ah.
actually,
photo frame. He did. He literally went live on TV and came back.
You see?
You could literally do a whole assignment and still be on time.
Yeah.
जी बच्चे हाँ जी मैं तो
No. How shortly?
No way.
For what?
what's a record?
Oh,
What?
We're guessing.
Well, you know,
We're guessing how short.
I like to be on time.
You do?
He is actually.
You know what they say about the Queen?
What did they say?
The Queen is never late. Everybody else is always
They
early.
said many other things about the Queen, so be very careful about your league.
I have quite a bit of stuff for you today. I will start off with a trip announcement. Secretary General of the United Nations will be traveling for the next week. First on Monday, he is expected to be in Jordan, where he will attend a high-level conference on Gaza. That will take place on Tuesday. The conference is called A Call for Action: Urgent Humanitarian Aid for Gaza. It will be held at the invitation of His Majesty King Abdullah II, as well as Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, as well as the Secretary General of the United Nations. The conference seeks a collective, coordinated response to address the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza. Heads of states and government and heads of international humanitarian relief agencies are also expected to participate. While at the conference, the Secretary General is scheduled to hold, expected at least to hold a number of bilateral meetings with other leaders. He will then go on to Geneva on Wednesday, where he will join an event to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the UN Trade and Development, otherwise known as UNCTAD. After 6 decades, the Secretary General will commend UN trade and development's work as it continues to be an inspiration for today's debate and decisions. Later in the day, he's also scheduled to address the Council of the International Telecommunications Union in Geneva, reminding the audience that digital divide is depriving billions of people of opportunities. The Secretary General will underscore that technology should be put in the service of advancing the greater good. On Wednesday, the Secretary General will then travel to southern Italy, where he's scheduled to attend the G7 Leaders Summit that is taking place in Apulia. The discussions at the summit will be an opportunity for the Secretary General to address topics like the reform of global governance, artificial intelligence, climate and energy, as well as issues of international peace and security, notably in view of the ongoing preparations for the Summit of the Future that will take place here in September. The Secretary General will also hold bilateral meetings with leaders there on the margins of the summit. Just prior to the G7 summit, he will be in Brindisi, which, as you all know, is also in southern Italy, to take part in a ceremony to mark the 30th anniversary of the UN Global Services Center, which is our logistics base in Brindisi, which plays a vital role to support peacekeeping operations and other UN activities around the world. The Secretary General will be back in the office in New York on Tuesday, June 18th, given that Monday, June 17th is an official UN holiday. I have been getting a number of questions from you regarding Yemen, and more precisely the detention of UN personnel in Yemen by the Houthis over the past few days. I can confirm to you that the Houthi de facto authorities have detained 11 United Nations national personnel working in Yemen. We're very concerned by these developments, and we're actively seeking clarification from the Houthi de facto authorities regarding the circumstances of these detentions, and most importantly, to ensure the immediate access to those UN personnel. I can further tell you that we're pursuing all available channels to secure the safe and unconditional release of all of them as rapidly as possible. I've also been getting quite a few questions from a number of you this morning on the issue regarding the Children in Armed Conflict report and all the news that's broken out in the last hour especially. The annual report of the Secretary General Children in Armed Conflict is due to go to the Security Council on 14th June, which is next Friday. That is the date it is scheduled and asked for by the Security Council. As per usual practice, an advance copy will be delivered to Security Council members on that date. The report will be officially published on 18 June with a press conference by Virginia Gamba, the Secretary General's Special Representative on the issue. The report will then be discussed by the Security Council members in an open debate. That will take place on 26 June. And just to remind you a bit about the context of the report, this is an initiative of member states, more specifically of the Security Council members, who have tasked Secretaries General to report annually on this issue based on well-established methodology. Coming back to this morning's events, earlier today, our Chief of Staff, Courtney Rattray, called the permanent representative of Israel, Gilad Erdan. The call was a courtesy afforded to countries that are newly listed on the annex of the report. It is done to give those countries a heads up and avoid leaks. Ambassador Erdan's video recording of that phone call and the partial release of that recording on Twitter is shocking and unacceptable, and frankly something I've never seen in my 24 years serving this organization. Turning to the situation in Gaza, our colleagues from the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs report that escalating hostilities are crippling the provision of health care across Gaza, with supply shortages and reduced bed capacity reported widely. Partners working on the health response warn that a few hospitals that are still partially functioning in Deir el-Balah area in the central part of Gaza are increasingly overwhelmed by the influx of casualties from ongoing strikes. The situation is especially severe at Al-Aqsa Hospital, with one of the facilities' two generators now out of service. According to our colleagues at the World Health Organization, more than 1,200 patients, that's an average of 50 each day, have been unable to leave Gaza to receive treatment abroad as of May 30th. WHO estimates that at least 14,000 patients need medical evacuation to medical facilities outside of the Gaza Strip, with this number expected to increase due to the shrinking hospital capacity in Gaza. Meanwhile, UNICEF reports that the ongoing conflict and restrictions in Gaza are preventing families from meeting their children's food needs. 9 out of every 10 children in Gaza are experiencing food poverty, surviving on 2 or fewer groups per day. That's according to data that UNICEF collected between December and April. As we told you yesterday, the Secretary General condemned the Israeli airstrikes on an UNRWA school in Nusrat refugee camp, sheltering some 6,000 IDPs, in which more than 30 people were reportedly killed. That includes 14 children. We reiterate again that United Nations premises are inviolable, including during armed conflict, and they must be protected by all parties to the conflict and not used for military operations. And also in a social media post late yesterday, our emergency relief coordinator, Martin Griffiths, stressed that the rules of war must be respected and civilians must be protected. That full post is available online. And in a statement we issued late last night, the Secretary General renewed his call to the parties to urgently cease fire along the Blue Line. He remains gravely concerned that the exchange of fire have not only ravaged communities close to the Blue Line, but also impacted deeper into the territories of both Lebanon and Israel, with the use of increasingly destructive weapons. The Secretary General urges the party to recommit to the full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701 and immediately return to a cessation of hostilities. And sorry, we were busy yesterday evening. Also, we issued a statement on Sudan, in which the Secretary General strongly condemned the attack reportedly carried out on June 5th by the Rapid Support Forces in the Wad al-Noor village in Al Jazeera State, which is said to have killed over 100 people. The Secretary General urges all parties to refrain from any attacks that could harm civilians or damage civilian infrastructure. And in a separate statement, our High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, called on the RSF and all relevant parties to carry out a prompt, independent investigation in line with their obligations under international law. Those responsible for unlawful killings must be held to account. While also on Sudan, while the reactions to the horrifying events in that country continue, the International Organization for Migration warned that the number of people displaced by conflict inside Sudan could top 10 million in the coming days. The IOM's displacement tracking matrix, which issues weekly statistics, recorded 9.9 million people internally displaced across all of Sudan's 18 states this week alone. Just to give you an idea, that is basically the population of the city of London. That's what it's like, but it's happening with a constant threat of crossfire with famine, disease, and brutal ethnic and gender-based violence. This was a statement from Amy Pope, the Director General of the International Organization for Migration. Turning to the Sahel, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tells us that nearly 33 million men, women, and children in the Sahel region need life-saving assistance and protection. Its new report on humanitarian needs and requirements there, OCHA highlights some key areas of concern, including in the Liptako-Gourma region of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and the Lake Chad Basin, which is Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, and Niger, with spillover effects increasingly felt in the Gulf of Guinea's coastal countries and Mauritania. Across the Sahel, growing violence and conflict threaten lives and livelihoods, forcing families to flee their homes and prevent access to basic social services. 2.2 million children are deprived of their right to education due to school closures, and close to 1,300 health centers are closed. The region hosts 2 million refugees and asylum seekers and 5.6 million internally displaced persons, many of whom have faced multiple displacements. In June to August, lean season, 16.7 million people will struggle to feed themselves. We and our humanitarian partners neared $4.7 billion this year to support 21 million people in Burkina Faso, Cameroon's far north region, Chad, Mali, Niger, Nigeria's Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states. As of today, just 16% of funding, or $761 million, has been received out of the $4.7 billion. Another humanitarian situation, and not a good one to highlight, and that is close to these shores in Haiti. Our humanitarian colleagues continue to sound the alarm of the dire food security in the country. You heard from Jean-Martin Bauer, the WFP country director in Haiti, who said that the country is considered a hunger hotspot with population already in acute food insecurity and requiring urgent humanitarian needs. Action. Amid this difficult context, our humanitarian colleagues continue to support the people in the capital and across the region. From the 1st to the 6th of June, as part of its emergency response, WFP distributed more than 38,000 hot meals to over 8,700 internally displaced persons in 8 sites in Port-au-Prince metropolitan zone. Also in the past week, across the country, it also distributed cash assistance to 27,000 people. And back here this morning, Joyce Masuya, the Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Deputy Emergency Relief Coordinator, briefed the Security Council on behalf of Martin Griffiths, and that was on Ukraine. She said the civilian tolls of attacks on Ukraine have continued to mount. Few parts of the country have been spared from hostility, she said, with the Kharkiv region experiencing the heaviest escalation of violence over the past month. Ms. Masuya said that support from around 50 humanitarian organizations, more than 12,000 people, are receiving assistance at a transit center in Kharkiv region. This includes food and water, clothes, bedding, household items, cash, psychosocial support, and legal assistance. Meanwhile, civilians who remain in border and frontline areas in Kharkiv face dire conditions. Many are cut off from access to food, medical care, electricity, and gas. She also said that it's deeply concerning that the systematic attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure are continuing, impacting healthcare and other social payment and transportation services, disrupting gas, water, electricity supplies for millions of households across Ukraine. And our friend Volker Turk, High Commissioner for Human Rights, completed today's official visit to the Lao People's Democratic Republic, first ever by High Commissioner for Human Rights. He met with a number of senior government officials, including the Prime Minister. He said he hoped his visit would herald a deepening collaboration on the promotion and protection of human rights for all people in the Lao DPR, as well as in the region. Full remarks are shared with you. Benchmark for world food commodity prices have increased for the 3rd consecutive month. That is according to the May figures. The FAO reported today said that also a higher prices of cereals and dairy products outweigh decreases in quotations for sugar and vegetable oils. The FAO Food Price Index, which tracks monthly changes in the international price of a set globally traded food commodities, averaged 120.4 points in May, up 0.9% from April. Speaking of food, today is World Food Safety Day. Food safety is a critical role in ensuring that food stays safe from production to harvest to processing to storage, distribution, all the way to eating. Tomorrow is World Oceans Day. It's a reminder that the oceans produce at least 50% of the world's oxygen and is the main source of protein for more than 1 billion people around the world. The Secretary General's message has been shared with you. I'm going to end on a happy note, at least for us. We got some money today. 113 countries now paid to the regular budget. It comes from a country that boasts the UNESCO World Heritage site called the Sinharaja Forest Reserve, and one of the world's few remaining virgin rainforests, making it a biodiversity hotspot. It's also a great place to have black, green, or white tea.
Black, green, or white.
With tea. Sri Lanka. We thank our friends in Colombo. I was hoping a little better from you, Gabriel.
Thank you, Stéphane. What are, from the Secretary General's standpoint, what are the ramifications on a country being included on this list of violations of the rights of children in armed conflict?
Look, the Security Council created this mechanism with a purpose. This is not the first report, right? We've had reports since, I think, 1998. We've had reports, if I'm not mistaken, on that focused on killing and maiming since 2009. It will be up to member states to read, digest the report, and act accordingly.
And it's not the first time this report has certainly come out, but it's the first time Israel's been included on it. Why now?
I'm not going to go any further into the report. I would say we have been, up until this year, very good about ensuring that it follows a process. I think our hand was forced today. As we always say, we would encourage everyone to read the whole report and draw the conclusions.
You might not want to comment on it more now, which is understandable, but Israel is, including the Prime Minister. He has said the UN has put itself today on the blacklist of history when it joined those who support the Hamas murderers. The IDF is the world's most moral army, and no preposterous UN decision can change that. Those are the words this morning from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What is the Secretary General's response?
Listen, this report comes every year at the request of the Security Council. The Security Council created this mechanism. Every year it is based on a very well-established and transparent methodology, which is explained on the Children in Armed Conflict website. Taking a step back, I think the Secretary General has been very clear in speaking out since October 7th on issues of violations of international law, on issues of violation of human rights, which includes the condemning of the terror attacks by Hamas. Madame, and then Madame aussi.
Steph, you spoke like 2 minutes ago about the Sahel region.
Mm-hmm.
There is a special envoy there, right? Mm-hmm. What is his job? Does he go there? What he's doing, because the situation is not getting better.
Yeah. Well, our efforts on the Sahel are continuing to try to bring a holistic approach, which includes not only security but development and humanitarian. I think a lot of the factors that are driving the situation into a more negative that are driving a situation kind of a more negative path are out of the control of the United Nations. It has to do with the continuing insecurity, the climate change, desertification, the coups that we've seen, and the governance issues. We're trying to tackle all of those. Amélie, and then Deji.
Thanks. I have several questions as well. On the children in arms conflicts, in the interest of a balanced coverage from our part, can you tell us if Hamas is put on the list as well?
I have nothing else to share with you. We would not have gone public with this had a video of a phone call not been released. The ambassador was briefed on everything having to do with the situation that is ongoing in Gaza between Israel and the Palestinians.
And another one, sorry, because there was so many things at the same time at the beginning of your briefing. I'm not sure I got everything correctly. On the list of his trip, do I understand from that
the list of trips? Oh, yeah,
trips
yeah, yeah.
next week? Do I understand from that he's not going to the peace summit on Ukraine?
He will not go, and I think we've said that. The UN will be represented at an appropriate level, and I think all the parties that are organizing the summit have been informed.
And last one. On Yemen, there have been lists of different agencies, of personnel working from different agencies. Can you give us any more details on who has been kidnapped by the Houthis?
I will share that with you after the briefing. Okay. Deji.
Yes, a quick follow-up. You might already said this. I'm sorry if I missed it. What is the consequence, or what is the meaning of being listed into the countries that commits violations against children? I know it's the Security Council report.
I really don't want to go more into this report at this point. All of the information is on the Children in Armed Conflict website. The consequences for people who are mentioned or listed in this report since the inception of this report will be for member states and others to draw. We've been asked to produce this report. We produce the report. The consequences will be for others to take.
Yesterday, the IDF released 9 names they called Hamas terrorists in their attack in that UNRWA school. Can you confirm that? Do you have any information?
I can't confirm. We can't confirm. The UNRWA and the humanitarian workers that are in these shelters are focused on humanitarian work. And I think Philippe Lazzarini was very clear in his statement that he can't confirm it one way or another.
So there might be the possibility that there are militants in that.
As I said, he was very clear in saying that he can't confirm it one way or another.
Okay. One last question. It's been reported that Prime Minister Netanyahu would visit the U.S. in July. Will the Secretary General seek any opportunities to meet with him?
The Secretary General's doors are always open to any head of government, head of state, foreign minister, official who wants to come to New York and meet him. Anade.
Just a quick follow-up on Deji's second question about the UNRWA staff members. Is there any update on the OIOS report? I know that you said that the team had gone back to Israel to get more information. There were some cases suspended due to a lack of information. Have you received any more information?
I have an update. I will send it around. But basically, I think the work of OIOS is continuing. They remain in touch with Israeli officials, and I think we could probably expect the work of the reporting is continuing. But I should have a bit more detail with you later.
Do you think you'd have an expected date of when it will conclude?
No, I'd never want to give an empty, a hard date to an investigation, because the investigation will end when the investigators feel that it has ended. Okay. That's it. Were you just saying yes to okay, or did you want to ask a question? You may use your microphone if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Stéphane. Going back to the report, you said it was shocking and unacceptable that the Israeli permanent representative released the video of his conversation with the Secretary General's chief of staff. You've said you never saw anything like that in, I think you mentioned decades, many years. What are the ramifications of something like that being released in that form?
I mean, the ramifications is more work for you. It's a bigger story. I don't think it's particularly helpful to our process. Member states will do what they do.
I mean, I guess it's no secret Israel has a very contentious relationship. I think you've used that word.
I think the ambassador.
The ambassador has, yeah. I mean, was there any thought about, I mean, you had to know that this was going to be leaked or no? Or is it just normal protocol to, in this much in advance, give
As I said, it's normal protocol. I mean, the fact that conversations between senior UN officials and diplomats and others leak, that is not new at all. That I've seen in my 24 years here. I think it's the format.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we shall see you Monday. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, details still done. Law enforcement.